जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव बिहारी जय राधा बिहारी राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ राधा गोपी जन वल्लभ राधे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी Krishna. We will be reading the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 2, text number 5, 5 to 8, text number 5. तत्र प्रविष्टं ऋषयो दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा व्राजमानं तिमिरम् कुर्वन्तं तन्महत्सता तत्र प्रविष्टं ऋषयो दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा व्राजमानं तिमिरम् कुर्वन्तं तन्महत्सदा तत्र प्रविष्टं ऋषयो दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा व्राजमानं वितिमिरम् कुर्वन्तं तन्महत्सदा ऋषयो तत्र प्रविष्टं ऋषयो दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा व्राजमानं वितिमिरम् Tatra, there, Pravishtham, having entered, Rishaya, the sages, Drishtva, seeing, Arkam, the sun, Iva, just like, Rochisha, with luster, Brajamanam, shining, Vitimiram, free from darkness, Urvantam, making, Tat, that, Mahat, great, Sada, assembly. Translation and purport by Sri Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki. Translation. Please repeat. When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly, his personal bodily luster was bright as the effulgence of the sun. The entire assembly was illuminated, and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence. Very nice. We'll be reading more verses and reading more from Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's translation. So we'll read a few more verses. Udatishtan sadasyaste svadhiryebhya sahaganai rite virincham sa sharvam cha tadbhasa kshipta chetasa. Influenced by his personal bodily luster, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha. Text 7. Sadasas पतिभिर्दक्षो भगवान् साधु सत्कृतः अजं लोक गुरुं नत्वा निशसाद तद आज्ञया. Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the great assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. Text 8. Pran nishannam mridam drishtva nam shayattad anadrita uvacha vamam chakshurbyam abhivikshya dahan iva. Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At that time, Daksha became greatly angry and his eyes glowing. He began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva. Purport: Lord Shiva, being the son-in-law of Daksha, was expected to show his father-in-law respect by standing with the others. But because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are the principal demigods, their positions are greater than Daksha's. Daksha, however, could not tolerate this and he took it as an insult by his son-in-law. Previously also, he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva, for Lord Shiva looked very poor and was niggardly in dress. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakmalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Ravita Shri Vishakhamritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shaban Sute Devi Vrindavan Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Very grateful for this opportunity to speak a few words on most exalted Srimad Bhagavatam. And I see in front of me many are all exalted Vaishnavas who are more qualified to be speaking. I have no qualification or realization, especially with regards to the topics we will be discussing a little bit today. But I'll be instructing some things to myself, and in that mood, I will try to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, the mercy of all of you, for the pleasure of the deities. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is describing this encounter of Daksha and Lord Shiva. So we see how in this chapter that Daksha in this section is entering this assembly and he is effulgent like the sun, it is described. And everybody pays him respect except for two personalities, as Bhagavatam describes. Right? Lord Brahma, of course, his father. So he is not entitled to stand up to offer respect. In fact, Daksha is offering Brahma respects. However, Lord Shiva, right, is from the Upadi perspective, from the perspective of the bodily relationship, it is described that Lord Shiva is the son-in-law, right? And Daksha becomes very upset. So Vaishnava etiquettes are generally taken very seriously in spiritual life, right? In Vedic system also. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Naimishe Nimshakshete Rishaya Shaunakarya Satram Swargaya Lokaya Sahasra Samamasata. To perform this 1,000-year sacrifice, they came together, and who was sitting on the Vyasasan? Romaharshanasana. And he didn't pay respect to Lord Balaram. And of course, Balaram, Prabhupada describes there in Krishna book that Generally, we don't need to offer respects, especially if somebody is sitting on a Vyasasana, of course, in the mind, but physically to other senior devotees also. However, by getting up, but the Supreme Personality has arrived, right? Who is Lord Balaram? And since he is not fit to sit on the Vyasasana, we know how Balaram uh, punished him. So later on, we know how Suta Goswami, Ugrashrava, when he's sitting, all the devotees, they all stand up. The Ekadatu Munaya, Rishaya Shaunakadaya, when they all come together, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. What happens? Paprachuridam Adarat, with Adara, they are welcoming Suta Goswami. Here we see that when Daksha is entering, Daksha is not entitled to receive that respect from Lord Shiva, because Lord Shiva is the predominant demigod, as we know, right? Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are the three guna avatars of the Lord. And even before Daksha's appearance, they were present in this creation of this manifested universe. So it is not expected. However, Daksha is filled with envy, with ego, and he takes this personally. Just the last few translations, it's described here that his personal bodily luster was so effulgent, it felt like all the devatas and even the fire gods were standing up to receive him. It's described that when somebody becomes so effulgent, right, it is very dangerous because they might be haunted by pride. The father of Satyabhama, Satyavrat, Satrajit. He had got the Shamantaka jewel, right? He had worshipped sun god. And he became so puffed up. He entered Dwaraka. Krishna was playing chess, it's described. And Dwarkavasis come and tell Krishna, oh, Supreme Lord Krishna, to see you, the fire god has personally come. It's described that he didn't want to come to have darshan of Krishna. He wanted to come to show off. Right? Look, I am so effulgent. And I am so puffed up now by my effulgence, and everybody has to find me to be the center of attraction. So, very, very dangerous position to get this position and this power, but not having the humility, not having purified one's heart to get the position. That's why it is very dangerous to accept a high position when one is not qualified enough. Actually, in the early days, it's described in 2012 in the Festival of Inspiration, Rameshwar Prabhu, he was giving class. After decades of having left the movement, he was a leader here in Detroit and so many places in the world, right-hand man of Srila Prabhupada. And he described that when Prabhupada had initiated so many devotees and made them leaders, sannyasis, Prabhupada had tears in his eyes. And he said that this is the need of the movement. I know that some of my disciples are not qualified, but I need these leaders. I need them to lead this world and spread Krishna consciousness. My time is running out. And Prabhupada said, I know that 4 out of 5 may not last in their position. But I have no other option now. My time is running out. And in that mood, he gave them those positions. However, of course, whatever service that they performed, Radhanath Maharaj described, was so amazing that in hundreds and thousands of lifetimes, we won't be able to perform even a tinge of their surrender, their service. Even if they apparently, externally, left the movement or performed some activities. So the point is, accepting that position when one is not qualified is very dangerous. So here it's described that Daksha externally is very effulgent. He is wearing this bodily garb of effulgence, this wonderful personality. And of all the Prajapatis, even in the next chapter in the beginning, it's described how Brahma had appointed him to be the leader of all the Prajapatis. Brahma is Prajapati, the progenitor. Manu is also the progenitor. And Manu's daughters, right? We saw how Prasuti was given in marriage with Daksha, and even Daksha is a progenitor, but he is now the leader. And being in the position of the leader, he is associating himself with a bodily conception of Upadi. Sarvopadi Vinir Muktam, right? The beginning of bhakti is Vimukta, becoming freed from this upadhi of who I am. And that we see that Daksha had not personified yet. And so he's seeing, I am this personality. I am so and so. Atagrah kshetra sutapta vittaya janasya mohoyam aham mameti. This is me. This is my position. This is my bodily luster. This is me. And this person is my son-in-law. And very scantily dressed, niggardly in dress. Lord Shiva, Vaishnavana Mitha Shambho, right? Jatadaral Galat Jala Pravaha Pavitastale, Galevya Lamba Lambitan, Bhujangatunga Mallikam, wearing a snake like a garland, ashes from the crematorium on his body, deer skin, matted hair, with ghostly beings. Just to uplift them, Lord Shiva has taken on this position. Swayam Mahesha, Swasharo Nagesha, Sakhadanesha, Tanayo Ganesha, Tathapi Bhikshatanameva Shambho. He has all opportunity. His wife is the goddess of this material manifestation who provides all opulence to everyone. But he is not interested. He is so self-satisfied. He is just worshipping the Lord. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. But he is being looked upon in this vicious way by Daksha. And it is said here in the purport that previously also he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva. So previously, so this is very, very important to note, right? So when I encounter somebody, right? If I am feeling some maliciousness in my heart, that means it is a very good probability that I don't have a good impression of this devotee or this person. And that is very, very dangerous. So it is said before also that Daksha, Lord Brahma had approached him and said, "Oh son, please marry your 16th daughter, your youngest daughter Sati, to Lord Shiva." But Daksha was not happy, he was not very keen. This person, he didn't have a good impression. However, Sati is a partial incarnation of the material energy. So she's an eternal consort of Lord Shiva. She wanted Shiva as her husband. And she performed great penances. But it's described that Daksha was not very favorable. So even in the beginning, he didn't have a good feel of getting this personality, Lord Shiva, most auspicious Lord Shiva as his son-in-law. So that maliciousness was already in the heart. And now, when some slight provocation came, where he saw that Lord Shiva didn't stand up, we see in the next few verses how obnoxiously he chastises Lord Shiva. Can we imagine? We can't even read. I don't know who is giving those classes. But reading those translations also is so painful to the heart. Right? How he describes Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna. So it's described that one of the offenses is not being happy to see a devotee. One of the 6 kinds of Vaishnava Prans. One of the other ones is not paying obeisances to a devotee. So when somebody was describing this, actually Amrendra Prabhu was describing this in my class, and one Mataji asks, "So Prabhuji, my husband also should pay obeisances to me every day?" So he said, "This is between your matter, don't bring me in." But the point is, if you have that sense of a bad impression towards some devotee, it's very, very dangerous. There was one devotee actually in Radha Kunda. Her name was Krishna Priya Goswamini. She was the daughter of Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, who was the disciple of Narottam Das Thakur. And they were very great devotees. This young little girl, Krishna Priya, her mother Vishnu Priya would worship Govindji. And she would also worship the Lords. And she would be filled with so much devotion. Tears would flow from her eyes in Gauda Desh in Bengal. And she was so filled with love for Krishna that some devotees would even call her Radha Kund Vasini Goswamini. And by their blessings, she went to Radha Kund. She resided in Radha Kund. And she would be filled with love of Krishna. And it's described that Raghunath Das Goswami had gotten a Govardhan Shila from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he would worship this Govardhan Shila with tears from his eyes. And when he disappeared, we know Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who's the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He would hear Chaitanya Katha from his spiritual master on the banks of Radha Kund 3 hours every day. And he wrote this for all of our benefits. He received this Shila from Raghunath Das. And he worshipped it with all his heart and soul. And when he later on left his body, he gave it to Mukunda Das, this devotee, who also worshipped with so much devotion. Mukunda Das became very old and he would be with so much devotion and he had some stomach problem, some digestion ailment. And this young girl, Krishna Priya Goswamini, she served Mukunda Das with so much devotion and cured him of this ailment. He was so pleased. He regained back his good health. He was so pleased to see her, her devotion. And he said, "You're like my mother. You have served me so ardently. So I want to give this gift to you." So when devotees are very pleased, we fulfill their desires. We get very precious gifts from them. One of my most precious gifts I have received was from Chintamani Mataji. Somehow, somewhere I served her in some ways. And one Christmas day, right? She gave me a Christmas gift. The last Christmas gift I remember is receiving some stockings with some water gun from my parents. I was so happy when I was a little boy. And then I received this Christmas gift of a bead chanted by Prabhupada. And I was like, wow, this is the best gift I can ever receive. Right? And treasured it so much. And she received this Govardhan Shila that was given personally by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And she would worship this Govardhan Shila with so much love, so much devotion, that one day she saw Brajendra Nandan Krishna in this Govardhan Shila personally. And the Lord entered her tongue and he would not leave her tongue. So day in, day out, Kirtaniya Sadahari, Nirantara, continuously she would chant the holy names. She would try to stop chanting the holy name. She would not be able to stop chanting. Even Mahaprabhu would be like that. He would not be able to stop chanting Krishna's holy names. So when he would enter the bathroom, he would bite his tongue. So he stopped chanting. And we know the story of Gopal, right? He tells Mahaprabhu, "Why, little boy, why did you stop chanting? What happens if something happens to you in the restroom? Don't stop chanting." And Mahaprabhu names him Guru, Gopal Guru. Gopal Guru Goswami he becomes. Right? So she could not stop chanting the holy names. And the reason I'm describing the story is that it's described in Narottam Vilasa that when she would always chant the holy names, any Vaishnav she would come in contact with, all his desires, all her desires will become fulfilled. And one day she was sitting in the class of one pure devotee. This devotee is on the level of prema bhakti, not bhava, prema it's described. And he was Rupa Rup Kaviraj. And he was one of the descendants of Narottam Das Thakur itself. And he had come to Radhakund. He had served the same Mukunda Das. And he had gotten so many blessings from him. He had gotten the title of Kaviraj, just like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Rup Kaviraj Goswami. And he would be filled with so much devotion and he would speak Krishna Katha with so much devotion. He would study the scriptures of all the Goswamis. And Raghunath Das Goswami, especially Rupa Goswami. And one day when he was giving Bhagavatam class, it's described that this great devotee, Krishna Priya Goswamini, enters into that assembly to hear Bhagavatam. And when she enters, everybody give her respects, except the speaker of Bhagavatam. In his heart, he didn't feel happy. He didn't feel like I have to give respects. He did not offer any respects to her because she was a pure devotee. She, however, did not take any offense. But this devotee, Rup Kaviraj, felt in his heart some kind of maliciousness, some kind of thing between him and her. Like he didn't feel happy. He didn't feel like I have to give respect. And so that seed was in his heart. So very important in this age, especially, A devotee might perform so many wonderful, wonderful activities, but one small mistake, what comes to our mind when we see that person first is this mistake. I remember many years back, there was one devotee, one Prabhupada disciple. I will not mention his name, great Kirtaniya. And I would practically worship this devotee. Ah, he was the right-hand man of Badahari Prabhu. He was the Kirtaniya head of West Coast of ISKCON. Right? The point is, when he came to Detroit, there was something that happened or something I heard about. And the next time I would see him in Kirtan Mela, I would see him in Festival of Inspiration. The first thing that would come to my mind is, oh, this activity or this. And I would tell myself, how is this possible? He gave decades and decades and decades to Prabhupada. And maybe what I've heard is also a rumor, is something. But Kali Yuga mind is so polluted that only that comes to our mind. Right? One small spot on a white sheet of paper, what one's eyes focuses on is that spot. All our teeth might be perfect and perfectly flossed. There is something stuck on one side of one tooth. Where the tongue goes is that side only. That is Kali Yuga mentality. Very dangerous. Right? Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, if he saw even a slight indication of two devotees having some kind of not perfect, loving relationship, in a public class, he would ask them to stand up. And he would say, you glorify him, you glorify him. Words would not come out of the mouth. But they would be forced to glorify. Guru Maharaj is right there in front. They would have to glorify. Because that is very dangerous. There would be one cook. Nobody would like this cook. This cook would perform his activities, but he would slander all the devotees. He would find faults with everybody, and everybody, when they would see him, they would walk away in the other direction. When he left his body, nobody came to glorify him. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada came ahead and he glorified him. Did you see such nice, crisp, white, beautiful dhoti he would wear while performing service just for the pleasure of the deities? So no good qualities, even one small quality, a devotee only focuses on that. So this Rup Kaviraj already had that in his heart. And when he was speaking, it happened to happen that this devotee, Krishna Priya Goswamini, was chanting the holy names. She would always move her lips, chanting the holy names, because Krishna would not stop dancing on her tongue. I would observe Jai Sachidananda Prabhu also, whose lips would always move with Krishna's holy name. So we should all take inspiration from mercy of Prabhu and hear from him, not me. But the reality is, when he saw this, he got very upset and he was filled with rage. Just like here it's described, that Daksha could not tolerate this and he took it as an insult by his son-in-law. Although he did not perform any wrong mistake, similarly, he took that as an insult. And what happened later on, again, I will not get to the details, but he lost all of his effulgence. Same thing, he had bodily effulgence, bodily aura. That everybody, when they would look at Rup Kaviraj, they would think, wow, such effulgence, such amazing Vaishnava etiquettes, such amazing bhakta of Srimad Bhagavatam, such amazing qualities. Everything dwindled, effulgence dwindled, as we would see in the life of Daksha also. And he later on got leprosy. He performed Guru Aparadh and he fell down and he left his body this way. And it's described in this verse, I don't know the verse exactly, but of Chaitanya Charitamrita, that even from the stage of prema, this can happen. Very, very dangerous. Vaishnava Aparadh should be very, very cautiously dealt with, and one should never partake in anything that can get close to this here. So, a very instructive story. And we see that Daksha, there are many weeds, and I'll touch upon this for a few minutes. Stop. Many weeds in the practice of devotional service that will cover the Bhakti Lata Bija. And we see that in Daksha's life, all these weeds that were there, Daksha did not take heed of in terms of trying to curb. And the first weed is Jiva Himsa. Jiva Himsa means performing some malicious activity to other living entities. And the reason why, at a very gross level, it is uh, killing an animal, killing a person, eating meat, etc. But even on a subtle level, having envy against somebody, on a subtle level, saying something which will hurt somebody, telling something which will take them away from Krishna. Pashudghat, it's described, is worse than killing also, because you're killing their propensity to serve Krishna. So it's very important as devotees, when we meet a person, meet another living entity, and in our lives, we will come in contact with many, many living entities. And Jai Prabhu and I were just texting this afternoon. We might, by Krishna's arrangement, if it works out, we might be going to Detroit to perform Sankirtan for a few hours. There is this Pride festival. So when we meet the people, uh, the intent is a devotee, when he meets another living entity, can we take that living entity one step closer to Krishna? Or worst case, keep it wherever they are. Keep them wherever they are. The worst Jiva Himsa we can perform is take them one step away from Krishna. And sometimes even as devotees, to prove our point, to justify our actions, for different activities to prove that I am right. We might even win that argument, but we might take that other person one step away from Krishna. So in that we don't win, we actually lose because we are performing Jiva Himsa. So Jiva Himsa is very subtle. And so here we would see how Daksha would perform this activity of Jiva Himsa. So that is one weed that one has to curb one's tendency against. And another one, which is very, very important, is called Kutinati. Kutinati is very, very difficult to overcome. And again, all these are instructions to myself. Kutinati means dupliciousness. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says that true bhakti starts when one person or a devotee is the same internally and externally. There is no difference between who he is or who she is internally and who he or she portrays or is externally. So now I can wear this, I can sit here, I can speak nicely, devotees might say some praises, they may clap, whatever. That is not me. It is a show that I might be putting on just for an external thing. But who I am internally is who I really am. And when that internal and external combine to be that one person, that is who a devotee is, and that is when bhakti really starts. Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says. And we see in the next verse, Daksha would, and I will not give spoilers for tomorrow's class, but he's externally saying that I am not envious. I am not saying this out of envy, but actually he's envious. Not only he's behaving envious, but he's also saying, no, no, no. That's the thing. Prabhuji, what you are saying is right, but. But means everything I've said is negating. Prabhu says, right? So, who I am and who I really am, if that becomes one, that is simplicity, that is no dupliciousness, and that is very, very important. And we see that Daksha does not uproot that weed also. That is also present in his conscience so deeply that he offends Lord Shiva. It's described, we all have three lives. One life is our external life, what the public sees, what people see, what they perceive us to be, and what we bask in that glory of, or what we want to be. One is our private life, right? Which only very few near and dear people know about. Our own spouse, our children, maybe somebody very, very close to us. That's it, nobody else. That they only know. Nobody else knows. And the third is a secret life. And that is who I really am. Only the Paramatma knows. And in this age, when we are all alone, when we have social media, our cell phones, when we have access to that, when nobody else is there to see, what is my taste? Where does my asakti? What is my anuga? Am I a raga anuga, a rupa anuga, or a social media anuga, or some other anuga? Who is that? Who am I? That is really the secret life that generally a person lives in. Actually, one devotee, he's actually praying to the Lord that, oh my Lord, I have served lust, I have served my senses for so many millions of lifetimes, and they have not rejected me from their service. They have always employed me, and I didn't want to reject serving them either. And I have not been satisfied either. And I don't want to give up that service either. But now that, oh Krishna, I have seen you, I have heard about you, I want to give up that job. I want to apply for this job. And please employ me and please don't fire me ever because I know that without you, I have no other shelter. So when these three become one, then that is the actual start of one's real devotional service. I remember I was in the bathroom with my Guru Maharaj. This was in Atlanta. And he got one of the mails from one Vanaprastha disciple of Prabhupada, one of his god brothers. And he was saying, I'm having difficulty with this or that. And he asked us to reply back. And he said, Brahmachari, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas means zero privacy. And he said, look at me here. I am passing stool. And there are three of you around me. It doesn't matter. There should be no privacy. Privacy means I have some other motive. Again, as a general rule, there are exceptions and things, but even grihastha, very limited. The point is, one devotee was asking, oh, this Guru Maharaj or this sannyasi, everywhere he goes, people take pictures, they take his photos, they record him. He should be very conscious of what he's doing. The other devotee said, why conscious? He is who he is. He need not worry about what I have to put, what garb I have to put on. That is him. Wherever you see him, wherever you see her, that is this person. And that is Kutinati. And this we see dual-faced. Outside, Daksha is so effulgent. He is the leader. He is the leader of the Prajapatis. He is the person who is demanding so much respect. All of the demigods, all of the sages, all of the rishis, they are all standing up, which means he has a position, very exalted position. And this position was given by Swayambhu Brahma, his father himself. But internally, right, who he is and who he is not. And how do we get out of this mentality? One cannot get out of this by one's own endeavor. Impossible. Bhagavatam says this. Vina mahatpada rajobhishekam rahu ganaita tapasa nayati na chejya na nirvatat grahatva na chandasa naiva jalagni surya. Not by tapasya for a long time you will not get past this. This specific one, duplicity, it's described. Not by being a sannyasi, not by being a brahmachari, not by changing the color of one's clothes, not by na chandasa naiva jalagni surya, not by performing tapasya of being in the scorching heat of the sun in the summer times or the winter cold in the winter times. No, only by the mercy of a devotee who does not have this in his or her heart, by surrendering it or one's life to that person or accepting shelter of that person exclusively. And actually in ISKCON, this happens. The only place where devotees, where we can come out of these proclivities, these anarthas, are in the association of devotees only. And in this association of devotees, one is coming out of these tendencies. And we find faults with somebody, we push off somebody. We should tolerate, and others should tolerate us because this is the only place, this is the only hospital where we are being treated. Rasik Guru gave a very nice example to me. He's told this many years back, I think, where there was a forest fire and all the animals were running out of that forest fire. And this person who was walking by the side of the stream is seeing that this forest is so quiet, there are no animals, nothing. But when there is this forest fire, all the animals are running out. And he said, this first time I'm seeing these tigers, these lions, these leopards. Why? There's a fire. So Prabhu was mentioning that how when there is fire of bhakti in the heart, automatically all these anarthas start coming out. So we should let it come out and we should let it gradually purify our hearts. So this happens when we stir the water where dust has settled, it will gradually come up. So in the association of devotees or our spiritual guides, this comes out. So one has to confidentially, guhyam akyati prichyati, confidentially share one's heart. and tell, I am feeling this with this devotee, I don't know why. Please help me, Prabhuji, please help me, Mataji. And the devotee will say, do such and such a thing. They will give the medicine for that. And by the mercy of the devotee, Vina Mahat Pada Rajobhishekam, without the mercy of the devotee, it is not possible to take out this duplicity. And I have so much duplicity. I know how much I have. And praying that I will also get shelter of a devotee who can help me with this. So this is one thing that Daksha also had the weed of. Third one, there is Nishiddha Achara, which is bad tendencies to break regulative principles. That's why we have no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. These 4 vows we give at the time of initiation. So that is another weed. And later on in this story, we will see how Daksha is cursed. And in that, it's described how he also had this tendency of breaking principles of sex desire, of sense gratification. So even that tendency is something that one should curb. And the fourth, which is what I will stop with, is the most important one here that we see is puja, labha, pratishtha. The subtle sex desire, subtle sense gratification, subtle enjoyment. It is so subtle and very, very, very difficult to overcome. It is described that before the living entity attains the eternal swarup or spiritual swarup, this is the last thing that will leave us. It is very difficult. Adoration, recognition, distinction. There is something special about me. I don't know what it is. It is something very special, right? That feeling, right? Adoration, labha. What is the profit I will get out of this activity? Very difficult. Mind, intelligence, ego, false ego. That is the subtlest snare of Maya. It's described that it is like the stool of a boar or a pig. And actually, one class I was hearing of Radhanath Maharaj, where he says that he wanted to find out what is this pratishtha. When it's described, it is the stool of a boar. So it's described that he actually went and smelt a stool of a wild boar, of a pig. He went and he smelt it. Physically, he smelt it. This is what is pratishtha. And he also described one story that one day a person passes stool and the stool talks to that person. This person says, gee. And he says that sometimes one's own stool is very valid, very nice. No problem. Another person's stool is obnoxious. That is how strong bodily conception is. And this person goes and talks to his stool and says, you are so dirty, you are so despicable. Oh my God, I want to flush you down. And the stool talks to a person. What, you're talking that I am so dirty? You are so dirty. Before I came in your association, I was such a palatable dish. Everybody would pay money to eat me. And now with your association, look what I have become. That is the reality, right? And this is what one hankers after. In Manashaksha, it's described that as long as this wicked witch of Pratishta Asha is there in one's heart, it's described that bhakti never enters one's heart. And again, personally talking about myself, even I could personally feel it. So say something, I have performed some activity by mercy of the Lord, something has come out well, somebody says something nice. Externally, I might say, no, Prabhuji, no, I am very humble, I am a servant, nothing. But internally, if I feel happy, my bhajan is ruined. Next 24 hours, next 2-3 days, I can see it practically. It's very true. And that's why it's described that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Trinadapi sunechena, tarorapi sahishnuna. Humility is the key. We can fake it very easily. I am very fallen. I am your servant. You're my master. This is not real humility. It's described that it's a show of humility. Enthusiasm. I remember when I came now, Bhagavad Acharya Prabhu was leading such ecstatic kirtan. I was not feeling that ecstasy. And Prabhuji gave me mridanga. I was playing. And I thought, okay, let me fake it till I make it. And I started jumping a little bit. And Atul, Krishna Prabhu, Atul Giri Prabhu is dancing. And I thought, okay, I will dance with him. Enthusiasm, you can fake it till you make it. But it's described humility, you can't fake it till you make it. In front of superiors, you can be very humble, natural. In front of juniors, you can be very humble. They will say, wow, Prabhuji is so exalted. But in front of equals, this comes out. Especially when a provocating situation happens. Very, very difficult. Pratishtha Asha, very, very difficult to overcome. And that we can see here, that Lord Shiva doesn't stand up. And Daksha thinks he is my equal. He is also the son of Brahma. When Madhendra Puri, we know the story when Kirchor Gopinath, he stole the kheer. Immediately, did Madhendra Puri stay there? People started praising him. He left the place immediately. No, I don't want to hear anything. Vasudev Vipra, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him, from being a leper, he got this effulgent body. All the villagers who were looking down upon him are now looking up at him. He left the place. He doesn't want to stay there. That is the mood of the devotee. Very afraid of getting ensnared by this. Again, I'm speaking, easy to speak. I can speak more and more and more. What's the use of this cheap speech? Who I am is who I know I am. And so that is very important. Actually, there was one devotee in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And when devotees would glorify him, he would say, Prabhu, glorify me more and more and more. And they went to a spiritual master. You have to talk to this disciple. You glorify, he says, glorify me more and more. And the Guru came and asked, why? He said, no, I am a transparent via media. The more they glorify me, the more I transfer that to you, Guru Maharaj. And by them glorifying you, they get benefited. And he said, that is okay. But people will misunderstand. Don't become avadut like this. Control. Actually, we had a nice joke. Rohinidhar Prabhu and me a few days back. Shyam Kishore Prabhu asked me to do Mangala Aarti one day, and I didn't know what exact offerings. I had to offer Narsimhadev after Mangala Aarti. Prabhuji was sitting right here and chanting. And I asked Prabhuji, what do you offer to Narsimhadev? Only flower and dhoop, or flower and incense and oil, scented oil, anything else? He said, no, Prabhuji, those two things you offer to Narsimhadev, then these three things you offer to Tulsi Maharani. Then I asked Prabhuji, what can I offer you? Prabhuji said, prayers. I said, Prabhuji, you want me to offer you prayers? I thought I will offer you an embrace, some prasadam. No, we want me to offer you prayers, Prabhuji. Okay, you are the student. He said, no, Prabhuji. And we know Rohinidhar Prabhu is the most humble devotee of all the devotees we can see. And I said, Prabhuji, but morning you want offer. But he said, offer prayers to the Supreme God on my behalf. Of course, we all know that. We both are laughing. But the point is, sometimes when the devotee could even ask for prayers, it can be misunderstood in different ways. But the point is, a devotee never wants any Pratishtha Puja. And we see that is the symptom of Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva is being vilified, is being chastised, is being criticized, is being blasphemed, Lord Shiva never speaks any words. He never retaliates back. Titikshava, Karunika, Suhrida Sarvadehinam, all the qualities of this devotee. It's described that Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. Devotee is filled with these things. Ajata Shatru, Shantaha, all these qualities that manifests in the heart of a devotee. And it's described that Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavat Akinchana. When devotional service manifests in one's heart, when devotion manifests, when Bhakti Devi manifests, Sarvair Gunairatra Samasati Sura. And these qualities that manifest, they are not easy to manifest because they are not a product of material nature. What we see in Daksha, right? Pride, envy, anger, greed, these things are very easy to manifest because they come and manifest when there is absence of true spiritual quality. And the true spiritual qualities are tolerance, humility, compassion, forgiveness. These four things. And these come by the mercy of the Lord. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu puts more emphasis on this. I remember I was in Devasadan Mandir, when I was living there, I think the first few months, first year I was living there, Krishna tests, something's happened in my life. I was doing everything right. I was literally staying up till late nights. I was trying to renovate one of the Fate Museum theaters. I would invite guests. I would take them around the temple. I would speak to them. I would take them, show them the diorama exhibits. I would try to raise funds. With those funds, I would try to buy some more lights, try to renovate it. And I would do all of these things. And inside, I was very happy with my service. I was like, I was an electronics engineer, and now I can use that in Krishna's service. And what came to me was something I didn't imagine. I will not get to the details, but nothing short of me crying and some devotees, some authorities chastising me. They're telling me, "What are you doing? You are destroying Prabhupada's property. You are a curse. You are a black spot to his con. What are you doing? You're doing this and that." And they took away the keys to the museum, and some things happened. And I was like, "Why? I'm doing everything right. This is so wrong of this devotee is doing this to me. I cannot stay here anymore. I rather live outside. I rather find an apartment." I was living in the ashram, and I'm like, I cannot do this. What is happening? This is completely wrong. And that night, I remember I talked to one of my Shiksha gurus in Mayapur, and I told Prabhuji, Prabhuji, this is happening. This is fully wrong. How can this happen? On no material level is this justified. I am doing nothing wrong. I'm using all Krishna service in his this thing, and I'm just serving Krishna. I'm trying. And he said, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. It does not matter what is right, what is wrong. It matters whether you're following your authorities or not. Just follow them. Just do what is needed in terms of following your authorities. I told them, but why is this authority telling this to me? That is wrong. He said, doesn't matter. And it took me many days to accept it. But I said, okay, now I have two options. One option, I will leave and go and stay somewhere else. What will happen? What service will I do then? I will chant sitting. Okay, what will come out of it? And I was initiated by then everything like that, right? And then I'm like, but nothing will come out of this as much as I can serve living in the temple, staying here. So I'm saying, okay, even if I don't do this service that I wanted to do, that this devotee is telling me not to do, okay, I will do some other service that is better than not doing it. And I surrendered. I said, sorry, Prabhuji, I am wrong. You're right. Please tell me what to do. I will do whatever service you want to do. And again, just my personal experience that he engaged me in some other services of the temple. And the very next day, like nothing has happened, he gave me the keys back to that same service I wanted to do. And the devotee said, you tell me how much Lakshmi you want for renovating this. $10,000, I will raise the funds and give it to you. Do what you want, take it. And then it felt like that is completely different from this experience I'm having. And of course, then I lived in that temple for another 7, 8 years. And some other services I did. Even this service, it came to fruition. Ambrish Prabhu also came later on once. He saw this, he thanked, and many other things happened. But the point being, when something happens in our spiritual life, huh, we can justify this is wrong. We can justify to the whole world that that is right. What I am doing, this person is wrong. But to make spiritual progress, it does not matter. Just to surrender to one's authority, and then it is only a test of Krishna. And many times in the life of a devotee, it is Krishna's internal energy acting. Later on, whatever curses that even Shiva got not to partake in the oblations that Daksha cursed him was actually, Prabhupada writes, a blessing for Lord Shiva, that he need not sit with all the materialistic demigods, accepting all of the remnants of the oblations of the sacrifices, so that he can only partake in bhajan. So in our lives also, when things like this happen, then are we following the authorities? Are we surrendering ourselves to our ego? Or are we surrendering ourselves to our so-called material intelligence, which thinks that this is what I have to do in this situation? So very important for a devotee when we encounter these situations. And that's why Nectar of Instruction says that Nindati Shunya Hridam Ipshita Sangalabhya. One should serve the devotee, take association of the devotee who has Nindati Shunya Hridam, zero tendency to find faults with others. Huh? Associate with means respect all other devotees. Krishnepi asya giritam manasendriyena. A person has chanted Krishna's name even once. With your mind, you respect everybody. Diksha si chet pranamitascha badantam isham. He has taken Diksha, he is worshipping on the altar, he is initiated, he obeisances. But one who has no desire for finding faults with anyone, and in this mood having no, at least attempting not to, right? We do not know, only a pure devotee can recognize another pure devotee, but one who is trying very hard, one who is forcefully making an effort, that devotee's association when one takes, then one also curbs these tendencies, and overcoming gross sense gratification is easier. That is only difficult, but much more difficult is subtle. And again, even Daksha Prajapati is a great personality. I think even Rasik Guru once in his class he had mentioned that many of these pastimes that happen in Srimad Bhagavatam, we should not uh, find fault with that person. Now, Daksha might be taking that position to show all these weeds for us to learn lessons, eternally taking infamy. But uh, uh, he might just be taking that position to serve Krishna. So one should not find fault with that person. Or even if he has had some anartha, he later on we see that he gets purified. Now he's a pure devotee. Every saint has a past. Every sinner will have a future. So that way, not to have any malicious thought against Daksha, but using this as a lesson for us so that we can hear this pastime, we can purify our heart of these tendencies, and we can uh, one day surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord and our spiritual masters. So it's the mode in which I wanted to instruct myself because I have all of these anarthas. So praying at the lotus feet of all your devotees that I can also purify my heart with the Lord. So Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thanks. Yeah, sometimes philosophy remains philosophy until we have to go through that philosophy to get purified. And sometimes even after purification, we come back and put dust on our body. Uh, yes. Hare Krishna. Any comments, any realizations? If you have any questions, by the way, there is Hari Parshad Prabhu who is going to appear in Michigan tomorrow, and he is going to give us his wonderful association. And any Shastric question of any sort you might have, she is in the Shastric committee of ISKCON, amazingly realized devotee. And just two, three sentences to glorify him. When he had his son, we know the viral video of his son always chanting Krishna's holy names, and his son would go to sleep sometimes at 11:30 at night, and he would begin his Shastra Adhyayana after 11:30 through the night. And that much taste for Krishna Katha, that much taste for Swadhyayana, that much taste for the holy names. It's unparalleled. So even I'm hoping to get his association by some oral reception. So any questions you have, please save it for tomorrow and you will get wonderful answers. Tomorrow, day after, and the day after. So he will be giving Bhagavatam classes on Monday, Tuesday also, and tomorrow Sunday feast class. So we have Prabhu coming from the Shastric perspective. Then we have Govind Prabhu coming, who is a Kirtaniya, amazing Kirtaniya, and a Parshada, associate of Indra Prabhu, who will be doing Kirtan next Thursday. We have a Thursday program, Thursday evening Kirtan will be a grand Kirtan. We will send out flyers today or tomorrow. And he will be doing this Thursday Kirtan. And next Saturday, he will be accompanying us for Harinam at Canton Heritage Fest, which is one of the best fests. And we will have a nice big Harinam festival with him. He's a part of Ram Rai Prabhu's Kirtan in New York also. And then Chandramauli Maharaj coming, and Rath Yatra, and all these festivities. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Fall down. Yes, I also. Yes, Prabhuji, I also had this question. I've heard that Bharat Maharaj from the stage of Bhava, he fell down. But Prema, there is one verse. It is not in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Prabhupada has published, or that we see in our Bhakti Vedanta book trust, nor Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, but there are some other version, same Chaitanya Charitamrita with few extra verses elsewhere that I read in the glossary of this article of Vaishnava Aparad from Kathamrita Bindu, whose editor is Hari Parshad Prabhu itself, that he wrote there that this is a verse, and he quoted the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I can read that verse, but it said there that even from prema, one can fall down. So very, very dangerous, or have the tendency also. I would ask him that. I also wanted to ask him this. So tomorrow we can find out the answer. Yes, yes. So, yes, yes. It's Achintya. I don't know how to reconcile this, and that will be a perfect question for Prabhu. Because when an exalted devotee like Prabhuji comes, it is one thing is getting his association, but other thing is asking a good question to get mercy also. So if I have kept this as my question, so fine, look for some other questions, Prabhu's. The verse basically states, um, yes, yes, yes. Vaishnavera sthane haya kshudra aparadha maha maha premaira premete padavada. By committing a small, seemingly insignificant offense unto a devotee of the Lord, even a topmost devotee who possesses the highest standard of transcendental love falls down from that prema. Huh? No, this is not there in our Chaitanya Charitamrita. Um, so Krishna, this verse quoted by Narahari in Narottama Vilasa is not found in the edition of Chaitanya Charitamrita published by Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, nor in the version translated and published by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As there are many versions of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is possible that this verse is found in another edition. In any case, the evidence that even a Premaika Bhakta can fall down upon committing Vaishnava Aparadha is found in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.10.25. Mahad Vimanad Svakritadhimadrin Nankshyatya Adurad Apishula Pani. If one insults a great devotee, then even if they are as powerful as Shulapani, Lord Shiva, they will fall down. But rest assured, the reason why this is so important is that in Madhurya Kandamini also it's described that there are different aparads. The Seva aparad, Nam aparad, Vaishnav aparad. So in our Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anatma Nivritti, Nishta Ruchi, Asakti Bhava, all the stages of devotional service, if I perform a Seva aparada, then the trace of every seva aparada I performed will get wiped out fully clean when I come to a certain stage, which could be probably nishtha or ruchi or something like that. If it's nam aparad, one more stage of devotional service. Vaishnava aparad stays till you get to prema or till you get to bhava, or in this case, what I'm reading, prema. So today I'm a neophyte devotee. I will perform left and right Vaishnava aparad. But I don't know that this is going to haunt me when I get to nishtha, ruchi, bhava. That time I'm like, I will not perform anymore. No worries, you already performed. So I've gotten a black mark one day. Now I come back to US after 10, 20 years. I've left the country after 15 years. I performed some felony 10, 15 years back. Now when I'm entering in port of entry, they say, look, black mark, get out of here. I'm like, 15 years I've been pure devotee. They're like, so the point is, even at this stage, one should be so careful because the wine smell of the wine bottle will remain even after the wine is removed and you wash it so many times. So that smell to go away, that's there, and that can put in a seed to perform another aparad. And then from that level, you will come down, punar mushiko bhava. So that's why we also read every day in the morning, right? One of the 10 offenses to blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their lives. Especially, I mean, everybody, but who have dedicated their lives for the propagation of the holy names. And especially when you're a pure devotee who is like fire, you should be extra careful. That's why generally spiritual masters also they're very careful whom they will want to be close with. Because even me personally, I've seen if I'm close to Guru Maharaj for 1 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, then the mentality is that I become familiar with prasadam, familiar with devotees, familiar with deities, familiar with the holy names, familiar with Guru Maharaj also. Oh, even he is doing these activities. Even I can do that activity. Even I can wake up this time. Even I can do this. Oh, he's also eating nice palatable foodstuffs. Even I like to eat all of this. Uh, he is doing so much services because so many devotees are serving him. If there were so many personal servants who would serve me nicely like this, even I would do. Point is, Maya is so powerful. Once Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I think one of the glorifications I was hearing, one devotee mentioned this to another devotee. Oh, we have that life in a day of Gopal Krishna Maharaj, this video also, right? And one devotee said, oh, he is doing all of these things because he has so many servants, so many people to serve him. So what is there distributing so many books, initiating? So, even this is senior brahmachari only who taught or told like this. Or, so Gopal Krishna Maharaj understood. He said, come with me, a day in one life with me. So Maharaj took him to the preaching program for morning to afternoon, all the programs, activities, devotees seeing him, and he was going to sleep. Maharaj said, no, no, stay here with me till 11, 12, 1 o'clock. The next day he's sleeping. Maharaj woke him up. It's 3:30, wake up. No, Maharaj, wake up, wake up. He didn't wake up. Then, then later Maharaj asked, when he got to know he fell paid obeisances. No, no, I'm so sorry. Means I might think, oh, this Prabhuji is speaking in a class. Maybe some Prabhuji experienced this. Puja Pratishtha, I am not feeling anything. I am pure devotee, Baba. With spiritual master feeling like this, I will not feel like this. I am just hankering for one moment's association. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi. I know all of this. But with experience, I'm saying when I've lived there for 1 or 2 weeks, then sometimes mentality is so powerful. Even staying in the holy dham, we can clearly see when if I am making some aparadh, we'll get kicked out very, very, very quickly because it's very dangerous. So one should here, get purified. Then one can accept the stage of daksha. Then also we don't want, but we should be very careful to purify ourselves before taking on some position, before coming in close association, lest we perform some aparadh for which we will repent later on. So, dangerous. That's why Hari Bhaktivinoda says that what we cannot control over, there is no point thinking about. So chanting incessantly and being humble now. And what we can do best is what we do, Prabhuji. We cannot change the past, right? And I don't know, maybe Prabhu knows the answer. I don't know what will happen to the previous Vaishnava. I mean, the point is, yes, I mean, even Shastrik, right? There are so many statements to fortify a specific point. The point here, what we can take is that very careful, be careful from now on, because that's the only thing that's in our control. And the reason it's saying all of this is that be very, 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 very careful, right? That is the message we take. Now, what we cannot control over, trying to ponder over, that is no point. But that's why Shastras also say that incessantly chant, always be humble, always Vancha Kalpat. Let's say Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Gradually becomes Vancha Kalpa. Then it becomes Vancha. Then it becomes this. I think Dwarkadish Prabhu was sharing in Bombay, right? He saw some young devotees. They're like, Yo Prabhu. He's like, what is this? Oh, no, Prabhuji, ये वांछा कल्प है, वांछा है. He's like, actually in Detroit, I was going once to the temple, and Radharaman Prabhu, who was living in the temple, he had met Prabhupada personally. Prabhupada had given him and his then wife a pineapple and given him so much mercy. And he said, in ISKCON, this used to be the standard. Any devotee who would come to the temple, even on the Sunday feast day, right, he would pay obeisances to every other devotee. Like every devotee he sees, he's paying obeisances. And I entered the temple and I said, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and I went to the DT kitchen to start cooking. And he gave this instruction. He said, and he was 50, 60, 70 years old, elderly devotee, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's disciple. And he said, you boys and girls, you never pay any obeisances. Uh, Not that he wanted, but he's making a point that what was the old ISKCON and what is the new ISKCON? Right, new ISKCON, okay, we perform Manchakalpa. Raghunath Das Goswami used to do this more number of times than chanting the holy names, 2000 times a day, that we chant 16 rounds, more than that. But we don't pay that. Because we don't do that constantly, we don't have that mentality also of respect. Then when we see something little bit, we find fault only. He mentioned this. This was ISKCON. He said in Devasadan Mandir, if we have been to Detroit ISKCON, we park the car, and when we walk towards the temple entrance, right, there is a long pathway through the gardens. He said that before a devotee comes from that parking lot inside the temple, they would have paid 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 obeisances. Means that was the culture. Right? When you perform that, that becomes your habit. With habit, that becomes culture. Once a new person comes, he will learn from that culture. Now that culture only is not there. Then we'll just walk in and then not even pay obeisances properly to Prabhupada. I mean, talking to myself sometimes. When I was living in the temple that time, Malti Prabhu had come once. Then I would run into the temple room, perform some service, then walk out, then again come back. And she called me. She said, "Come here." He said, "Why don't you pay obeisances while coming inside temple room?" I already paid Malti Prabhu. He says, "No." She said, "No, no. Every time you come, you leave. The Lord is here." Once one Prabhupada memory is one Prabhupada disciple, he was performing Gayatri. And Prabhupada looked at him and Prabhupada said, "You should have paid obeisances to me before doing your Gayatri." Prabhupada was personally there that time. And then he said, "I'm sorry, Prabhupada, I will do it." And in his memories, he said, "I had paid obeisances to Prabhupada, but maybe Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, didn't see me." That's why he mentioned this. But he said this is an instruction, right? Before Gayatri, pay obeisances to Guru and to Prabhupada. My point is, Prabhupada was very particular. If even Shrutakirti Prabhu had to come in, go out, pay obeisance, come in, pay obeisance, go out. Obeisance, come in, obeisance, go out. Then gradually, vancha, yo. So, and gradually after another 10, 20, 30 years, next generation, they will not even think that's a standard. So at least we have Prabhupada memories. We have these books. And we have the devotees who can relay what that culture was so that we can also embrace. And again, I am telling this to myself. And once he said that, for next 3, 4 days, 3, 4 weeks, I did it. Every devotee. And then after some time, I stopped doing it again. So that culture needs to be imbibed, right? And the leader should. Yad yad acharara shreshtas, tabda deveta vidha. Pranam. So that's important. That's why we need to hear more. Talking to myself. Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you. I'll be ending.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful class.